unfasten our seatbelt. We should remain on our seats. And he explained further that we might have about 5 to 10 minutes delay because they need to tow or they need to move the plane down to the gate. And please, nobody should move, nobody should stand up. He has just finished speaking. Less than 30 seconds, a young man stood up and was walking to the back and started gisting with his friends. The air hostesses and everybody was talking to him. He wasn't. The people were trying to call his attention. Wasn't. Then the white man was so frustrated. The white man just shouted at him and swore at him. The pilot was shouting, saying, "Gentlemen, please sit down." The plane was still moving. Gentlemen, sit down, sit down, sit down. Everybody, those of us who were Nigerians, those of you that are shouting, "Are you mad? Are you mad?" Just cussing at him. He was wondering what's going on. Then he went to sit down. That behavior is part of the misconception that we are a hard-headed people. We are strong-headed. We don't hear word. We are at this airport. We line up. But when we get here, we jump queues. That now forms a general misconception that Africans are lawless people, that we don't obey the law. But in a way, it may be true. In a way, but to now generalize, and every African you meet is potentially a corrupt person, is one of the major problems some of us who travel around the world face. I've been to a number of countries in the world. When I show my passport, I know how many times I've been pulled off the line for special considerations because I'm carrying a Nigerian passport. It's embarrassing. It's a shame. These days, you know what I do? I hold a book. I hold a book written by an American, and I put my passport behind it. Or I hold a book written by a Jewish person. Why? Because there's a misconception that black people don't read. So when I'm waiting at the airport, I'm always reading. When I'm on the flight, I'm always reading. Anywhere I'm waiting, I'm reading. Whether I'm understanding what I'm reading or not, the essence is that I know somebody's watching me, because it is believed until one day I was in New Jersey in the US. I was sitting down to catch a flight from New Jersey to state of Ohio. Sorry, Detroit. And while I was waiting, I didn't know this gentleman has been looking at me. I've been reading because I got this book from one of my mentors titled Cultural Matters. And the book was so intriguing. I was enjoying it. I was reading the book, and I was reading it because in that time, I was writing this book. And this gentleman walked up to me and said, "I've been watching you since. You've hardly had time to stand up from where you were sitting. You've been reading. I know you are African, but I would like to know where you are from." And I told him, "Oh, I'm Nigerian." I said, "Wow." He said, "Your behavior is unusual. That is unusual for us to see someone sit down and all you're doing is not having music over your head, not put headphones listening to music, but you are reading. That's quite unusual." I almost felt offended that, no, why would you say that? But I had to comport myself, laughed it off and said, "Wow, is that the impression you have about us?" He said, "No, but that's the observation that I have made. That is either they are making phone calls and they are loud, talking on top of their voice and the phones are on speaker, or they are playing loud music instead of using their earpiece. And the ones who are a bit civilized use the earpiece, it's just music and that's all, and just be shaking their head and all." That he rarely finds Africans sitting down to read. The man told me that. What year was that? Year 2014. I can't forget it. Year 2014, is it February? February 2014. I can't forget that experience. So many of those misconceptions are highlighted here, that they believe we are generally corrupt in Africa. Everybody is corrupt. They don't know that not everybody is corrupt. They don't accept that. And that misconception is that they believe that leadership in Africa is masculine. That our men are chauvinists, our men don't respect women, blah, 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 blah. There might be some element of truth in some of these things, but it is not the general outlook of an African. It's also prevalent in Europe and in Asia as well. There's a power distance culture there. We have women who have led us in Africa. We have the Queen Aminas. We have the Fumura Fusheton. We have a lot of women. We have Dr. Mrs. Ngozi Kujoriela, who is doing amazing work. We have Auntie Obi Ezekwesili there, who is doing amazing work. We have a lot of Amazons who are doing massive work in building Africa and in creating a better life for us in Africa. So many of those misconceptions are there, that they believe that our politics is dominated by the big man syndrome, the gerontocracy, and all of that. So I had to highlight it there as part of the misconceptions, which is also affecting people's perception about us and our quality of leadership. My position about leadership in relation to Nigerian politics is that the foundational issue started from our party formation from 1922. The first political party that emerged in Nigeria emerged in order to get Africans involved in self-governance. Every political ideology or political movement or political party evolves as a response to an issue or to change or transform an experience or people's experience. And that party was the one that Abba Macaulay formed along with his friends, and that was the Nigerian Democratic NNDP. That was in 1922 after the Clifford Constitution was formulated that allowed citizens and indigenes to contest and run for office. Of course, they dominated the political landscape until maybe about 1936, 1938, when the Nigerian youth movement, what used to be what we call the Lagos Youth Movement, came. And they came as a result of a reaction, as a response as well. They were complaining about the quality of education that was given to Africans, that Africans were just taking up clerical functions, they didn't give us executive roles, managerial roles. That was when they instituted the Yaba College. The Yaba College was a response to that. It was the funding and the establishment of the Yaba College, which was a crisis point between the citizens and the colonial masters then, that informed the formation of the Lagos Youth Movement as a political movement. They had sound ideologies. Of course, with the likes of H.O. Davies, Ernest Coley, who were part of the foundational members. You know, H.O. Davies had schooled in London School of Economics, where he had also met another gentleman who also had democratic socialist ideals. And in fact, he was the one who introduced H.O. Davies to the principles and the theories of Harold Lasky at the time. So they brought all of those ideologies down to Nigeria. They formed a political party and they wanted to have a national outlook. They were able to attract people from other tribes so that Nigeria has a cohesion. We have that, all of that, built in. And then they attracted people like Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who returned back from the US and became a member of the party. The likes of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, SLA Akintola joined. Then, of course, it was that movement that groomed them to wrestle political office from NNDP in, I think, 1934, 1936, or thereabout. Now, at that time, because we were under colonial rule, the main objective of political parties was to seek indigenization of policies in such a way that it will favor citizens towards self-governance, which was ideal, which was fantastic. But once the Macpherson Constitution of 1951 came and introduced regional government and introduced regional self-government, most political parties emerged. Of course, all those other parties ran into crisis, and the issue of ethnicity came in and all of that, and we now started having regionally based political parties where the Action Group was formed, the Northern People's Congress was formed, then the NCNC was formed, and all that, and they were all along regional lines. The problem was that we were only focused on wresting power from the colonialists. The objective of the political parties were not built around any strong ideology of development. They were not built on any ideology of a Nigerian identity, a collective identity. The emphasis was on ethnic diversity to have a cohesive Nigeria. It was not a unified Nigeria. And that was what played out in our politics for many years. And that is still what is playing out in our politics until the recent times, where the likes of APC became a party that became cohesive and had a national outlook and was able to wrestle power from PDP. What am I saying? Our leadership model has never been identifiable up until now, because once we finished fighting the colonial masters, we succeeded in chasing them away, we inherited a new problem, which was internal, military governance. The military came, interjected our democratic growth. For many years, they were in office. So we did not have an opportunity for our political structures and our political institutions to grow. They had stunted growth. And I liken that experience to a child who had a normal birth, and at 13, she can't walk, she can't talk. Why? Because the parents were always carrying her. Rather than allow her to crawl, rather than allow her to walk, rather than allow her to fall and to, fail once in a while, we don't want her to be dirty, they carried her. As a result of carrying her, they did not allow her exercise her ability to walk and to run. That way, she remained a baby. At 13, she still can't walk. She still can't feed herself. She still can't talk. That's exactly what is going on with the political structure of Nigeria. The interjection of the military truncated every possible opportunity for us to develop political ideologies around leadership principles that is peculiar to our culture, that is peculiar to the needs and the interest of our people. We had a political system that emerged that was ethnically based, with one ethnic group wanting to outwit the other. We had a political structure, a political institution that was so filled with bias in terms of religion, in terms of tribal sentiments, such that merit, competence, and character did not become the national value systems anymore. All of those things eroded deeply into our societal values, and as long as those societal values were being depleted, people did not have any futuristic look at what Nigeria would look like when Nigeria turned 50. So when Nigeria turned 50, she still remained a baby. And that's why we have not been able to successfully produce an effective leadership system. Why? The political formation, or the formation of political parties, the foundation themselves are warped. They are not well structured. Then people play sit down look. People are not interested in politics. They say politics is dirty. They sit down behind TV, criticizing government officials, accusing them of corruption, going behind Twitter, fighting politicians, abusing politicians, but yet we are not members of the political party. Yet we don't go out to vote. Yet we don't have the PVC. So how do you expect to produce quality leaders when you don't participate? Now, the interesting thing is this. Do you know Nigerians don't even know that if you don't fund the political parties, you don't have the mouth to complain about what they are doing? The lack of funding of political parties by Nigerians and for Nigerians has resulted in a few guys who are money bags hijacking the political process, hijacking the political system, and by so doing, fielding their own candidates and imposing their own candidates, and there is no democratic structure in the internal politics of those political parties. So what they end up doing is to present to us candidates which are less evil among the many evils that we have. So all of those issues are so critical. For example, I'm hoping on starting a campaign that we need to be more transparent in how political parties are sponsored or funded in Nigeria. That's where we can begin to resolve the issue of how we field candidates. The military were the ones who formed political parties in those days. They funded it such that no governor or no president can hijack the political process. But now, once somebody becomes the governor of a state, he becomes the leader of the party in the state, whether they are operational at the national level or at the state level, which ought not to be. In the days of the AG, the UPN, the MPN, there was a difference between the office of the chairman and the office of the president. If the chairman summons the president to see him, the president shows up. Now, our definition of party supremacy is the other way around, because the president or the governor can use the instrumentality of state and the resources of state to hijack the political process. Therefore, he who dictates the tune, who plays the piper rather, dictates the tune. So that in itself is what is affecting the leadership structure of Nigeria, especially that aspect of our political party. People not getting involved, people don't go for ward meetings, they don't vote, they don't have PVCs, they don't show up, and yet you want a better Nigeria, you cannot get it. I don't want to mention his name. He's one of the presidential aspirants. He made a statement recently that was very prolific, and I found it very outstanding, because in these days, we don't have politicians whereby we can quote anymore. Unlike the days of them Zik, Awo, where they said something that is philosophical and we can quote and it resonates with us. He said, in politics, you cannot be a spectator and expect to succeed. I added my own word. In politics, you cannot be a spectator and expect to succeed in governance. Meaning, you and I cannot be a spectator in the political discussion of our country and expect that our leadership or our governance system should succeed. We need to be involved. We need to go down to our local government and be part of the ward meetings at the political level. Let's join the political parties. People are asking me, should we form a new political party? I said, you don't need to. Hijack the current one. Look at the amount of resources during NSAS that the young people were able to gather. Look at the amount of money, millions of naira. That means we have the resources and the capability, those of us who are young, to go into those political parties, fund the political party in such a way that we play the amala politics with them. We go there and share the welfare with them, but we do it in a more sophisticated and ethical way. We do it in a more sophisticated and ethical way such that we will be transparent, we will be accountable. There is no accountability structure around political parties these days, such that you see the form, nomination form within political parties, 20 million naira. Excuse me, sir. Who can afford that? Then somebody will now come and tell us that his friends contributed the money. So you and I don't have friends, Abi, that can contribute the money. Who are we fooling? So we need to define and regulate the political party funding such that it is independent of office holders from hijacking the structure and hijacking the machinery of the party to serve their interests.
I was saying, based on what you have said within the 40 party foundation and the leadership structure. So what's your message to our next generation of leaders in Nigeria?
My message to our next generation of leaders is this: acquire competence in your area of specialization. Become an exceptional Nigerian. I went to school, my first degree was in accounting. I felt I have a calling to be a lawyer. I studied, I became a lawyer. I felt I needed to have more study, not for purposes of just studying alone. I wanted to be a global citizen. So I decided to do a further study in law and did my master's. But I realized that I don't want to just be an academician lecturer. I wanted a situation whereby I was able to contribute and be a thought leader. So I switched my PhD program from law to what we call strategic leadership. I went to school to study strategic leadership. So I became a strategic leadership expert and founded a consulting company, management consulting, doing that. What am I saying? I set out to be competent in my field. Whatever your profession, whatever your career, gain competence. Become an expert. When you become an expert, you hone your skills, make your skills globally relevant, not just only to your industry, but across the globe, where you have a voice and a platform to express yourself. Once you lay the foundation for yourself, the next point is this: develop character. Have sound value system. Be a man of your word. When you say you are coming, you are coming. Be a man of integrity. Be honest. Be truthful. Be respectful. Be humble. Regard people. Honor people. Celebrate people. Help other people achieve their dreams as well. When you achieve your own dream, don't close the door on others. Don't shut others people down. Don't make yourself feel better and more accomplished than others. When we lift other people up, and many of us succeed like that, then we can all shine the light in this darkness and be the light of our world indeed. So my advice now is that once you have gained competence in your profession and expertise, and you have gained character, the next point of interest for you is now to develop a network. A network where you have chemistry with like-minded people. People who are as passionate as you are, people who have the same ideals as you are, people who have the same value system as you are. Then you now look into the society and into our community. Starting from your own local community, begin to carry out the transformational project. My advice, again, if you are interested in political governance, don't be an analyst. We have had too many analysts in our political space. And I like to say this: too much analysis leads to paralysis. Our nation is paralyzed in the last 30 plus years because we have failed to take action. All we've been doing is to analyze. The analysis has not helped us because those who are in rulership over us do not analyze. They are strategic. They sit down middle of the night when you and I are sleeping. They are mapping out strategies on how to win the next elections. And I tell people, politicians have become sophisticated. They don't rig elections anymore. They rig the system that will help them rig the election. They don't need to carry ballot boxes anymore. They rig the system that will rig the election. If you develop your competence and your character, and you develop a network, community of friends with similar value systems and the chemistry, go into the political parties at the local government level. Don't be in a hurry to want to vie for office and hold political office, because position does not make a leader. It is the least form of leadership. What makes a leader is influence and its responsibility. My own unique definition of leadership is that leadership is taking responsibility. in your local environment. Take responsibility for the sanity of that environment, for the security of that environment, for the laws of that environment. Do local community projects. Help to clean the streets, help to clean the gutters, help to do the roads, help to do street lights, help to fund the less privileged, help to build hospitals where people can go and get medical services, help to build schools. When we do all of this and we have an aggregate component of all these actions taking place at local government levels, you will find out that those who are in governance who fail to do their job will be exposed. They will now tell us what they were doing with the allocation, federal allocation that was given to them, since we are the ones building the schools, since we are the ones doing the community project of tarring the roads, of doing the gutters, of doing major things that we are supposed to. They should tell us what have they used our resources to do. This is the time that some of us should start giving tithes and offerings to political parties the way we give it to church. The way we pay our taxes and we pay tithes and offering in church, we need to begin to do financial contributions. Set out a percentage of your income to fund the political party where you belong. And your funding should be channeled towards two critical areas: education and social orientation. Why? The prevailing mental model of Nigeria right now is helplessness, is defeatist, and is such that the people are only after survival and nothing more. They will do anything to survive, including killing their mother, including carrying out kidnapping, including ritual killings. They will do anything. People are hungry. I tell people, you cannot preach a new Nigeria to a hungry Nigerian. He won't listen. You cannot preach the doctrine of a new Nigeria to a hungry Nigerian. People are suffering. The little wealth you and I have, the little comfort you and I have that you think is okay, is satisfactory for you and your family, I trust one thing: you are making a mistake. You are making a mistake because you are going to drive through the same road these people are driving through. You see their children begging on the road. You see their children selling small things on the road. You see them coming to meet you and begging you, please give us money. There will come a time they won't beg you for money. They will knock your windows and tell you, if you don't give me this money now, I will kill you. And it has started happening. They started robbing on traffic in Lagos. I have experienced that incident on 3 occasions where area boys started with begging. Some few weeks later, they started breaking people's windows and collecting phones and collecting bags and collecting monies. This thing seems to be far-fetched. It seems to be that far, but I'm telling you, it's coming close home. And we pray, like we always do, which is our favorite thing in this country, prayer, is that God will protect us. But how about God protecting the other people? Before you pray that God should protect us, let us care for other people. Pay for somebody's child's school fees. Go into the schools whereby there are indigent children, where their parents cannot afford, pay their school fees. Visit the public schools. There are practically no public schools anymore in this country. They are run down. Their teachers are poor. I visit the schools. I go to speak to teachers. You will see the dressing of some teachers. You'll be afraid. And yet you expect the teachers not to exploit the children. Go there and celebrate the teachers. Give them gifts, monetary gifts. Encourage them. Support their families. Some of these teachers are even struggling to pay school fees for their own children, let alone even teach other people's children conveniently. Some of them are struggling to pay their house rent. There are myriads of problems that we can do, but I think our collective efforts in looking out for other people and being our brother's keeper can solve our problem at least by a certain percentage, maybe 20% of all. At least, but I believe that when we focus on this as our strategy, joining these political parties, supporting and developing and doing cross-exchange of ideas and ideology in the political parties, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, if we work out a strategic plan of the ideal Nigeria that we want to have and the ideal Nigerian that we want to produce, if we have that as our strategic vision, and we identify all the critical areas, all the critical industries and sectors, and we begin to set out experts, strategists in those areas, and we begin to patiently water the seeds that we have planted, I believe, and it's not theory, it's a strategic plan, I believe, along the line, coupled with our prayers to God, and with our taking action, and stop analyzing and over-analyzing, if we take action, I believe something will give way, and we'll have a transformed country.